In April 1775, the first shots have been fired of the American Revolution at the Battle of Lexington. News of the fighting and the unexpected British defeat spreads like wildfire across North America. In an astonishing turn of events, American colonists are now besieging the British Army in Boston, and both sides are primed and ready for a second encounter to settle scores and land a decisive blow. Both armies understand the importance of control of the heights for victory in Boston, but since the earlier British withdrawal, the peninsula has remained a no man's land, watched over cautiously by the Royal Navy. There are two main hills on the peninsula, Bunker Hill to the north and Breeds Hill to the south, overlooking Boston. Continental forces also control an excellent intelligence network inside of the city, and within days of the British plans to seize the heights being agreed, the commander of the Continental Army, General Artemus Ward, is aware and he moves to stop the British. Although his army does not yet possess heavy cannon, General Ward is well aware that if he can occupy the heights with guns, he can quickly make the British position in Boston untenable by bombarding both the city and crucial British supplies that can only arrive by sea. In the early hours of the 17th of June, and the day before Gage plans to take the heights, Colonel William Prescott leads two Massachusetts regiments of 1,000 men onto the peninsula. Mostly without uniforms, the men wear civilian dress and carry entrenchment tools, wicker baskets, and 1 day's ration per soldier. Although ordered to fortify Bunker Hill, Prescott instead orders a redoubt to be built on Breeds Hill, likely because of its commanding views over Boston. Prescott and his men dig trenches and an impressive square fortification with earthed walls and firing platforms 130 feet wide. The Continentals work at pace throughout the night, and as day starts to break, they are soon spotted by Royal Navy ships who open fire on their position. British Commander Gage wakes to the sound of guns. Looking out across the bay, he is well aware of the danger and knows that he must control the heights if he is to stay in Boston, let alone break the siege. The troops are marshalled in Boston, and in the early afternoon, Gage orders General Howe to lead 2,000 British regulars and storm the heights. The British row across the bay in longboats, their bayonets glinting in the hot sun. At 1 p.m, companies of light infantry, grenadiers, and marines begin landing to the east of Charlestown. Both sides call for reinforcements, and Continental forces from Connecticut arrive to reinforce Prescott's left flank, where they hastily build fletches, breastworks, and trenches. Over 3,000 men of the new Continental Army are now spread across the hills, including almost 2,000 concentrating around Breeds Hill. The British plan to envelop the redoubt by pushing through Continental defences along the right flank, while distracting and pinning the forces in the centre with a feint frontal assault.
Rice Battalion! Company! Handle arms! Shoulder your! Shoulder your! Pilots! Pilots!
Make ready! They're breaking. Doesn't matter.
Colonial forces wait patiently until the British are just 100 feet away before finally opening fire. At that range, they are able to devastate the British ranks, who are easy targets. 100 Fusiliers are immediately killed, and many more wounded at the front of the assault, which first falters and then disintegrates as the British fall back in disarray. The secondary attack on the redoubt is met in a similar fashion, made worse by remaining snipers in Charlestown and the heat from the afternoon sun as the soldiers march up the hill in wool uniforms. British forces withdraw as the attack ends in failure, and General Howe regroups his men to the east of Charlestown. General Howe prepares a second assault, this time ordering a full attack on the redoubt instead of just a feint, to be combined with a closer supported attack from the right. Howe still hopes to push through Continental lines and envelop the redoubt to capture or destroy the centre of colonial resistance.
Gentlemen.
Bunch! Probably as soon as they go around, they hit the...
Yeah! And damn love hucks! Light infantry! To the front! 4!
Go, front.
You can't lose cohesion there. See how quickly they change formation.
Open order, second lights.
Open order.
Not parked.
See a lot of hits taken here.
What do you say? Independent fire!
Wait.
They're pulling back. Now that they're still have some artillery ammunition.
All right, ready?
Can't use their cannons to bring up forward in a
Then come out, somebody else filter in. Get out low.
I got you.
to encourage them in. They took a beating earlier.
Head flights, one hold.
Make ready! Present! Prime and load! Oh yeah! Huzzah! Make ready! Present! Fire! more! Phoenix! Rear rank, hold it up! Huzzah! Retreat! Retreat!
Keep him up. Fucking chaos.
As the British march past, dead and wounded comrades, they come within range of Continental forces, who once again open up withering fire. Resting rifles and muskets along their entrenched positions, the Continental forces make easy pickings of the British, whose officers decide to pause and reply with volley after volley of ineffectual fire instead of pushing on and directly assaulting the positions. They are once again thrown back with heavy casualties. But there is also now confusion in the Continental ranks as critical reinforcements arrive but remain directionless on Bunker Hill, while many others flee the field. Fresh supplies are also not coming through, leaving Prescott and his remaining men on Breed's Hill, now less than 1,000, running dangerously low on ammunition. Before a third assault can begin, 400 British reinforcements arrive from Boston, accompanied by an eager General Clinton, who rallies a further 200 wounded to form up for the next attack. Howe, lightly shaken by the high casualties, now changes the formation of his men to columns and orders one large attack to be directed solely at the redoubt on Breed's Hill. He tells his men to drop their heavy packs and use their deadly bayonets, which the Continental Army, now short on ammunition, does not possess in large numbers.
Drop packs!
If you have them.
Drop your packs! You want to drop your packs! Drop your packs and blankets! Wait, you guys don't have to That's my magic.
Pick him up and bring him in the car!
They're not forming in that big line of battle like they were.
That redoubt, boys.
Put your whole create momentum.
Right over there. Corporal Bellotti, please. Step. Steady, lad. Step.
You're ready. We have one more round. All right.
Independent fire! Pour it in, lads! Pour it in!
This time, the concentration and speed of the assault shows results, and the regulars begin to breach the redoubt. But Continental troops, using their muskets as clubs, are waiting for them, and brutal hand-to-hand combat follows. The Continental commander, Colonel Prescott, is in the thick of the fighting as he parries bayonets with his sabre. But with superior training and weaponry, the British have a significant advantage and begin to push the Continentals back while inflicting heavy casualties. Prescott and his men give way and retreat from the hill, but it is not a rout, and the Continental forces are able to fall back to Bunker Hill in good order, covered in part by their left flank. General Clinton, eager not to let the Continental forces reorganise on Bunker Hill, starts preparing British troops for a fresh attack. But before it can be launched, the Colonials begin to withdraw. The majority of Prescott's men are disorganised or retreating, but after a brutal day of fighting, they've done enough. The Continental Army has been forced from the field, but at a high price. British casualties are over 1,000 dead and wounded, approximately 40% of their total forces engaged. Continental losses are far lighter, at 450 dead, wounded and captured. After news of the battle reaches London, Gage is recalled to Britain in relative disgrace. There were already concerns about his ability to command, and Bunker Hill is the final straw. General William Howe replaces him as the British commander in North America. Aside from the high casualties, the Battle of Bunker Hill dramatically changes British calculations. Howe is deeply affected by the battle and has a new respect for the Continental Army. By winter, the Continental forces have shrunk due to enlistments ending and desertions, and the British, with fresh reinforcements, now have 10,000 men in Boston. Although Howe now outnumbers Washington for the first time in the campaign, he now does not want to risk an attack. General Howe has problems of his own. Poor morale is leading to desertion, as his men suffer through the winter with a lack of firewood, proper quartering, and fresh food that can only come in from the sea, and which is often captured by colonial privateers. Despite the perceived opportunity, the British command has become overly cautious just as they gain the opportunity to go on the offensive. Washington is acutely aware that as winter drags on, his army will weaken. He proposes 2 further direct assaults on Boston, one in October and one in February, that would have seen Continental forces rush across the iced-over bay to attack the city. But again, his senior officers disagree and the plans are scrapped. A stalemate now exists between the cautious General Howe and the restrained Washington. But in November, Henry Knox, a 25-year-old bookseller with an interest in military history, suggests a way to bring heavy cannon to the army and end the siege: Fort Ticonderoga. Washington dispatches Knox with orders to bring the heavy guns to Boston, but this is no easy feat, as the 59 cannons selected weigh over 60 tons. Knox-built sledges that will move the cannon through the deep snow and unforgiving countryside and transport the precious cargo 300 miles in what will become known as the Noble Train of Artillery. In March 1776, Washington places his new heavy artillery on the Dorchester Heights, a no man's land up until that point, which finally threatens to bombard both the city and Royal Navy ships. General Howe recognises the danger and plans to assault the heights, but a storm scatters his landing boats and makes an attack impossible. The British now have no choice but to evacuate the city. Over almost a year of fighting, the British have wasted precious time in Boston, fighting an unnecessary siege that they refused to break. But a new strategy is now emerging in the British High Command, and with fresh reinforcements finally arriving from Europe, Howe is now poised to turn the tide in 1776 and finally go on the offensive.